Once again, Christian greetings to all our valued listeners and viewers throughout the whole world, more particularly to all Shepherd's Rod believers, and most especially to our beloved brothers and sisters in the United States of America. Special greetings to our brethren in Colorado, to our brethren in Georgia, in Fiji Island, in Mexico, Spain, in Africa, to the United Kingdom, and also to our brethren in Australia, and to the rest of the 144,000 living saints scattered abroad. Greetings. May the good Lord bless you, brothers and sisters. This subject is concerning the headquarters issue. It is one of the most controversial subjects among the media at this present time. So, we need to carefully study this very important subject. What is the top of Carmel? Is it withered? Now, I would like to begin our study on Steps to Christ, page 44. It says, the government of God is not as Satan would make it appear, founded upon a blind submission and unreasoning control. It appeals to the intellect and the conscience. Come now, and let us reason together, is the Creator's invitation to the beings He has made. Isaiah 1 verse 18. God does not force the will of His creatures. He cannot accept an homage that is not willingly and intelligently given. A mere forced submission would prevent all real development of mind or character. It would make man a mere automaton. Such is not the purpose of the Creator. He desires that man, the crowning work of His creative power, shall reach the highest possible development. He has set before us the height of blessing to which He desires to bring us through His grace. He invites us to give ourselves to Him, that He may work His will in us. It remains for us to choose whether we will be set free from the bondage of sin to share the glorious liberty of the sons of God. Here in Individuality and Religion, on page 1 and 2, Introduction. Individuality and Religion, written by Alonzo Jones, pages 1 and page 2. Any service as to God that is not freely chosen by Him who renders it is not service to God. There can be no virtue in it. There can be none of God in it. Any service rendered as to God that is not freely chosen on the part of Him who renders it, it cannot be of God. Because God is love. And love and compulsion, love and force, love and oppression never can go together. Therefore, any duty, any obligation, anything offered or rendered as to God that is not of individuals' own freely chosen choice can neither be of God nor to God. Accordingly, when the Lord created whatever creature, angel or man, in order that that creature should be happy in the service of God, and in order that there should be virtue in rendering service or worship to God, He created him free to choose to do so. And this is individuality and the divine right of it. Now, I would like to read track number 5 from page 6. Track number 5, page 6. So before a person can climb the ladder of truth, he must first of all free himself from erroneous theories which keep him bound in darkness, and to lose himself from such weights of error so as to reach the top step of the ladder of truth. He must carefully investigate and prove all things in open-mindedness. Track number 5, page 6. Track number 7, page 5. Track number 7, page 5. Believing that most of you will, before helping the one side or the other fire its guns, do as did Nathanael. John chapter 1, verse 45 to verse 51. Follow the example which the Lord has set before us, and respond to duty's challenge to investigate, to come and see. We trust that you will, in the ensuing pages, give unbiased consideration to the facts set forth. Track number 7, page 5. And before we will dwell at the present time, what is happening among the media today, let us view first the history in the past. B.T. Hotep himself declared clearly here in 2TG number let me read to you 37 on page 11, 2TG 37, page 11, it says, "What a gloomy life this would be if there were no history. If there were no possible way of knowing the past." 2TG 37, page 11. So what a gloomy life if there were no history. If there is no possible way of knowing the past. The Bible itself told us. Romans 15, verse 4. "For whatsoever things were written aforetime were written for our learning, that we through patience and comfort of the Scriptures might have hope." And in 1 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 11, it says, "Now all these things happened unto them for ensamples, and they are written for our admonition, upon whom the ends of the world are come." And history is called by the Shepherd's Rod as the type or the photograph. And I would like to read again here in 1 SR, page 66, saying, "Think how great the price to work out the picture? The lessons to be derived from these great examples are far greater than we have ever realized. Many thousands lost their lives to produce the picture, with the intention that many more thousands would be saved than those who perish. Let us therefore carefully study into the lessons that were intended for our learning and admonition. Historically, millions of lives, thousands upon thousands, had been lost concerning the headquarters issue. Now, I would like to read Answerer. Answerer number 1, page 16. It says, Be not like the Jew. Be not like the Jew, but open your heart, cast out its pride, its prejudice, and its self-conceit. Let this not deprive you of eternal life at such a late hour as this. If you repeat the mistake of the Jews, your shame and your loss will be as much greater than theirs, as are your light and opportunities and privileges. Yea, beyond comparison. B.T. Hodder declared clearly here in 1 TG, 1 TG number 32, pages 15 and page 16. It says, Isaiah 30 verse 8, 1 TG 32, pages 15 and page 16. Now go, write it before them in a table, and note it in a book, that it may be for the time to come forever and ever. True, they killed the prophets for warning the people of their sin, but God decreed that the prophets' writings against the existing sins must remain intact to be read as object lessons by the generations that were to follow thereafter. God's people of today, therefore, have no excuse for repeating the mistakes of their predecessors. If they do repeat the sins of those who have gone before them, however, then their guilt will bring upon them even greater doom than was brought upon the Jews. And if no one can deny that Isaiah's prophecies against the Jews were fulfilled, then who can dare say that they will not be fulfilled against us if we fail as they did? In track number 5, page 55 and page 56, it says, track number 5, pages 55 and page 56. What a momentous truth today for a sectarian Christendom. Let it admonish all who choose to walk in the light to avoid the mistakes of others. Look at the media today. What a sectarian the media. All of them believe that the only rule of God is the shepherd's rod. But the question is that, why is it that they were divided in different groups? Now, I would like to read track number 5, page 55 and page 56. And I will try my best that, if possible, I could only give just a little elaboration, but let the written word of God speaks of itself. Find your explanations in the Golden Bowl. To SR 289, to avoid the ever-ready trap of deception and the difficulty of knowing the difference between truth and error is eliminated. Get your doctrine only from the Golden Bowl. Track number 11, page 12. Track number 5, page 55 and page 56. What a momentous truth today for a sectarian Christendom. Let it admonish all who choose to walk in the light to avoid the mistakes of others. Oh, how terrible the thought of closing the heart and thereby turning a deaf ear to the pleadings of the Spirit of God. Think what great sorrow and suffering could have been averted had men not been so hardened in pride and self-conceit. It was too humiliating for those leaders in Israel of old, to acknowledge their mistakes and receive corrections from God's humble servants, the prophets. But their ignoring the truth did not perpetuate their exaltation in the eyes of the people as they had expected it to. Neither did their killing the prophets make right their error or cover their sins. Nor did it silence God, but rather in course of time exposed their utter ignorance and uncovered their shame before the whole world. Should God's people at this time repeat the mistakes of the Jews? Then the punishment decreed in the words, "There shall be weeping and gnashing of teeth." Matthew 24, verse 51. Would fail to find in intensity its parallel in any age. A full realization, moreover, simply of the disappointment of being on the very verge of stepping into paradise, but falling short in and finding oneself instead plunged in hell, would be enough to stab one through and through with the most angering remorse. Let us therefore open wide our hearts as we read the Lord's pitying plea. And it is even more definitely applied to our subject, because this pitying plea given by Jesus Christ is to the headquarters in Jerusalem. Now, I would like to read Patriarchs and Prophets. (514) Patriarchs and Prophets 514. So let us read. Heretofore, Gilgal had been the headquarters of the nation, and the set of tabernacle. So historically, the very first headquarters that were ever established anciently was in Gilgal, the headquarters of the nation, and there the tabernacle of God was set up. But now the tabernacle was to be removed to the place chosen for its permanent location. And when was that? Which is called the permanent location. This was Shiloh, a little town in the lot of Ephraim. And that is found in the book of Joshua. Joshua chapter 18, verse 1. It says, "And the whole congregation of the children of Israel assembled together at Shiloh and set up the tabernacle of the congregation there." in Judges 21, or Judges 21, verse 19, it says, Then they said, Behold, there is a feast of the Lord in Shiloh, yearly, in a place which is in the north side of Bethel, on the east side of the highway that goeth up from Bethel to Shechem, and on the south of Libonah. Judges 21, verse 19. So the very first headquarters of the nations was established in Gilgal, that is, in the time of Joshua, but later on, it was transferred to its permanent locations. Where is that place which is called by inspiration permanent location? Shiloh. And from the time by which God's tabernacle was established in Shiloh, it took 300 years. But after that long years, 300 years, it was completely destroyed by the Philistines. Now, I would like to read. It says, the ark remained at Shiloh for 300 years. Until, because of the sins of Eli's house, it fell into the hands of the Philistines, and Shiloh was ruined. The ark was never returned to the tabernacle there, or here. The sanctuary service was finally transferred to the temple at Jerusalem, and Shiloh fell into insignificance. I would like to read Psalms 78. Let me read to you. Psalm 78. Psalms 78, from verse 58, 59, and 60. It says, For they provoke him to anger with their high places. High places is pointing to the headquarters. And move him to jealousy with their graven images. When God heard this, he was wroth and greatly abhorred Israel, so that he forsook the tabernacle of Shiloh, the tent which he placed among men. It is God who commanded his servant Joshua to establish the headquarters as the permanent location in Shiloh. But what happened? God forsook or abandoned or left Shiloh. Now, in the days of Jeremiah, when the temple, when the headquarters was established in Jerusalem, in Mount Moriah, Prophet Jeremiah is trying to remind them what happened to Shiloh. And instead of listening to the voice of the prophet, I would like to read Jeremiah 26 verse 9. Jeremiah 26 verse 9. It says, I would like to begin on verse 6. Jeremiah 26 verse 6, 7, 8, and 9. This is the message of Jeremiah. Then will I make this house like Shiloh. Then will I make this house like Shiloh, and will make this city a curse to all the nations of the earth. So the priests and the prophets and all the people heard Jeremiah speaking these words in the house of the Lord. Now it came to pass, when Jeremiah had made an end of speaking all that the Lord had commanded him to speak unto all the people, that the priests and the prophets and all the people took him, saying, Thou shalt surely die. Why hast thou prophesied in the name of the Lord, saying, This house shall be like Shiloh, and this city shall be desolate, without an inhabitant? And all the people were gathered against Jeremiah in the house of the Lord. Now let us go back to our statement in Patriarchs and Prophets, 540 and 515. It says, The ark remained at Shiloh for 300 years, until because of the sins of Eli's house, it fell into the hands of the Philistines. And Shiloh was ruined. The ark was never returned to the tabernacle here. The sanctuary service was finally transferred to the temple at Jerusalem. And Shiloh fell into insignificance. There are only ruins to mark the spot where it once stood. Long afterward, its fate was made use of as a warning to Jerusalem. Go ye now unto my place, which was in Shiloh, the Lord declared by the prophet Jeremiah, where I set my name at the first, and see what I did to it for the wickedness of my people Israel. Therefore will I do unto this house, which is called by my name, wherein ye trust, They trusted to the headquarters. And unto the place which I gave to you and to your fathers, as I have done to Shiloh. Let's read Consecrated Way to Christian Perfection. Consecrated Way to Christian Perfection. So let's read the statement. It says here, this is the statement given by the words of inspiration. Page 71. What were specifically the lying words in which these people trusted? Here they are. Trust ye not in lying words, saying, the temple of the Lord, the temple of the Lord, the temple of the Lord are these. Jeremiah 7 verse 4. Literally, in reality, that is not lying words, because that is really the temple of the Lord that was built in Mount Moriah, by which there was a token miracle performed by Jehovah on the day of dedication of the temple. But what does it mean, lying words? The lying words there is that they think that as long as they were in the temple, as long as they belong to that headquarters, they are forever saved. And I would like to read Consecrated Way to Christian Perfection, page 71. What were specifically the lying words in which these people trusted? We already read in Patriarchs and Prophets, 540, they trusted to the headquarters. They trusted to the place. I would like to read first Patriarchs and Prophets. 579. It says here, the promised Patriarchs and Prophets, 579. The promise had been made that the house of Aaron should walk before God forever. That is the promise. The promise is forever. The promise is everlasting. Would you think God is lying when that promise had been forfeited? And it was transferred to the sons of Levi. It says here, Patriarchs and Prophets 579, the promise had been made that the house of Aaron should walk before God forever, but this promise had been made on condition that they should devote themselves to the work of the sanctuary with singleness of heart and honor God in all their ways, not serving self nor following their own perverse inclinations. Eli and his sons had been tested, and the Lord had found them holy and worthy of the exalted position of priest in his service. And God declared, "Be it far from me." He could not accomplish the good that he had meant to do them. The good that he had meant to do them, because they failed to do their part. Of all the message in the rod, I think the most important part in Micah 6 verse 8, to walk humbly before God. Apology. My only desire is to awaken our senses before everything is too late. The media today